Hey, what's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here with SpeakingLifestyle.com. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to build a six-figure speaking business. And I'm essentially going to walk you through the steps. So whether you're just starting or you've been speaking for a while, I'm going to show you what to do. And even though I can't include like everything in this video, I'm going to include the most important things. So now, if you're not making at least six figures in your speaking business, then it's time to step up your game. I mean, it's time for something to change. And I'm not saying this to be like all motivational on you. I mean, I'm dead serious. It's time to get really serious, and it's time to do something different. So in this video, you're going to learn exactly how I was able to get companies like Remax, AAA, Hilton, Best Buy, Intel, Charles Schwab, Booz Allen, Keller Williams, Furniture First, all types of other companies to hire me for events and to pay a lot of money. I'm going to show you how I was able to go from charging just a couple hundred to getting $5,000 for 30 minutes, $10,000 for an hour. I'm going to show you everything, the entire process, and you have a choice. You can either just sit there and listen to this and just think to yourself, oh, that's some good stuff. Oh, that's some cool information. Or you can actually go out and use this information. Now, not too long ago, I was actually talking to a friend on the phone, and he was actually asking me how I kept filling up my speaking schedule so easily. Now, every time that I talk to this friend, I always tell him the same thing. I tell him my whole process for getting on stages. And guess what happens? Absolutely nothing. And to me, it's just crazy. I mean, you say that you want to get hired by companies. You say you want to build your business. And when someone tells you exactly how to do it, still don't do it. I mean, it just amazes me that people do this stuff. And I'm going to show you how I went, I don't know, get on Fox News, how I get companies to commit to hiring me. And I'm going to tell you like everything that you need to build your speaking business to six figures. But there's still a hurdle. There's a hurdle, and there always is. The hurdle is, are you actually going to do it? The same friend who keeps asking me how to book gigs, I keep asking him what he's doing tomorrow. So he says like, oh, hey, how do you book the gigs? How do you fill up your schedule? I say, well, what are you doing tomorrow? And he says things like, oh, well, I have to go to the post office, then I got to stop by the grocery store, and then I got to go pick up a friend, then I got to do this, and I got to do that. And I always stop him and I say, look, do you want to book speaking gigs or not? Like, do you want to do it or not? And he says, yeah, of course I do. Of course I want to build it, but I got to do this and all this. And I tell him like, well, what the hell are you doing? If you want to book speaking gigs, then does going to the post office really help you get on stage? Does going grocery shopping actually help you get on stage? And he always interrupts me and says things like, yeah, but I really need to do it. I really got to go, and things like that. Let me tell you something, because I mean, nobody in the speaking industry is going to tell you this. So I just want to be completely honest with you. Everyone's going to tell you that, everyone's going to say like, hey, take this diet pill and you'll be able to lose weight, instead of actually telling you the truth on how to do it. Everyone's going to tell you the easy way instead of telling you to work your ass off to get results. So here's what you need to know about building a six-figure speaking business. You have to work harder, more hours, and be smarter than everyone you know. And then, only then, will you maybe make six figures. And that's just maybe. And that's just six figures too. It's not hard to make six figures in the speaking industry. It's not hard at all. The hard part is getting yourself to do the work on a consistent basis. The actual steps that you take are easy. I mean, easy. I'll tell you the actual steps. We'll talk about the actual steps, but it's so easy that nobody actually does it. It's crazy. I mean, they think that there's a magic bullet. Right now, there are some people listening to this who are saying, well, just tell me the steps. Just give me the steps. Geez, come, hurry up. Give me the freaking steps. And at this very second, those are the speakers who are listening who still don't get it. They think the steps are what makes the six-figure speaking business. They think about it like this. I mean, well, just think about it like this. Do you think it's possible to book speaking gigs using Google AdWords? I mean, is it possible if you set up a Google AdWords account and you sent traffic to your site, is it possible to get gigs? Or has any speaker in the world ever gotten a single gig off of Google AdWords? Any speaker? Well, of course it's possible. There are tons of speakers who are currently getting gigs using Google AdWords. And you probably knew about AdWords as well. I mean, I highly doubt that I'm the first person who ever told you about Google AdWords. Now, here's the wake-up call. If you know it's possible to book gigs using Google AdWords, and you know that other speakers are doing it, why aren't you booking gigs using Google AdWords? Why haven't you filled up your schedule? Here's what I absolutely need you to get if you want to build a six-figure speaking business really fast. It's not the technique, it's you. You're the one who needs to change if you're going to build this business. I mean, you probably just said it to yourself. You know it's possible to use Google AdWords to get gigs. You know other speakers are currently doing it, but you're not doing it. You're still stuck. You're still asking, how do I get speaking gigs? So look, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this because I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. And as you listen to this, you have to listen from the standpoint of changing who you are, changing what you do, not just looking for a specific technique that's going to all of a sudden, poof, you have a six-figure speaking business. I just told you a technique a second ago. Google AdWords, that's a technique. For all the people who are looking for, oh, let me get a technique, that's a technique. You could easily make six figures off of using Google AdWords, but now it's your turn. Now you have to actually go out, go set up the account, go learn it, create an ad, track the ads, make sure your website is good, connect your Google AdWords to your Google Analytics account. You see, now you have to actually get out and do some work. That's what scares speakers off. That's what scares people off. They realize that they actually have to do some work to get some freaking speaking gigs. So if you're serious and you're really ready to build at least a six-figure speaking business, then I'm going to tell you how to do it. The only real question is, are you actually going to do it? So let's break this down. Let's break down the process for building your speaking business. What's your number one problem as a speaker? I mean, what's the question that if you knew the answer to right now, you would pay, you'd pay someone $10,000 to hear the answer. I mean, think about it. What's the number one question that all speakers ask, that all speakers have a problem with? The question is, how do I get speaking gigs? How do I get paid gigs? How do I get the speaking opportunities? It's all about, how do I get the paid speaking gigs? That's the number one question every speaker asks. Every speaker asks that at some point in their lives. And some of you listening right now are probably asking the same question. I mean, like, how the heck do you freaking book speaking gigs? How do you get someone to say, we want to hire you as a speaker, here's $10,000 for a 60-minute keynote? How do you get someone to do that? And that's where speakers get it wrong. They start off by asking the wrong question. The quality of an answer depends on the quality of the questions you ask. Which question do you think is going to give you a better answer? Number one, how do I book speaking gigs? Or number two, how do I book speaking gigs using Google AdWords? Now, obviously, the second question is going to get you a better answer because it's more focused, it's more specific. Someone who asks about how to use Google AdWords, well, now I can tell them, hey, you have to hook up your analytics account, and I can tell them how to create a good ad and all kinds of different stuff. But the person who asks the first question, well, it's almost like, where do we start? If you just say, how do I get speaking gigs? I'm going to say like, well, where do we start? There's so many different ways. I mean, think of it like this. If you were talking to Bill Gates and you said, hey, Bill, how do I make $1 million? How do I become a millionaire, Bill? Well, let me ask you, do you think that Bill Gates could actually tell you how to become a millionaire? Now, you might be saying like, yeah, of course he could. I mean, he's a freaking billionaire. Of course he could tell me how to make $1 million. But the real answer is no. Bill Gates, what he's going to say, if you come up to him and say, hey, Bill, can you show me how to make $1 million? What Bill Gates is going to say, well, what do you want to make $1 million doing? Do you want to be a millionaire doing real estate? Do you want to be a millionaire starting up a tech company? Do you want to be a millionaire as a poker player? How do you want to make your millions? If you don't ask the right question, you can't get the right answer no matter who you ask. So from this very second, I want you to stop asking the question of how do I book speaking gigs? How do I get paid gigs? Stop asking that question. The question is just like saying, how do I become a millionaire? I mean, it's so generic that nobody can give you a real answer to it. There are so many ways to book speaking gigs. There are so many ways to become a millionaire. And the only way you're going to do it is if you start by asking better questions. What you need are the steps. You need to know exactly what you're going to do the second you wake up in the morning. As soon as you wake up, bam, you know exactly what to do. And that's the first big step that you can take to build your six-figure speaking business. You have to know your process. I mean, how crazy would it be if, let's say, Tony Robbins woke up not knowing what to do every single day? I mean, how crazy would it be if he woke up in the morning and didn't know how to run his business? What if he didn't know what actions to take today, tomorrow, the next day, next week? Do you think that he would have built his business the way it is? You see, most speakers, they wake up not knowing what to do. They wake up not knowing what their process is. And they don't know what to do because they ask the wrong question to begin with. They ask questions like, how do I get speaking gigs, rather than how do I use Google AdWords to get gigs? And there are several ways to get booked, we're going to talk about in a second, but focus on this. I mean, you have to know your process. Edward Deming, he said, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. If you were to talk to Tony Robbins, like let's say you called him up right now and you say, hey, what are you doing today, tomorrow to build your speaking business? He could easily say, well, we're doing this and we're doing that, and then we do this, and then we got to do that, and then we're doing this, and that's going to lead to this, and then we're going to do that, and this, blah, blah, blah. He could easily walk you through his entire process if he wanted to. But if you ask any other speaker, or if you ask yourself, how do you book speaking gigs? What's their answer? What's your answer? In fact, really think about what is your answer. How do you book speaking gigs right now? Think about it. How do you get your gigs? You probably said word of mouth, or I get it through referrals. That's a sign that you don't know your process. One thing that I teach speakers to do, is to really just build out a process, even for your referrals. Even though a lot of speakers say, oh, it's through referrals, you have to have a process for that referral system. I mean, you don't just sit and wait for the phone to ring. You don't just ask for a referral. You need to have a full out process. You need to know what you're going to do every step of the way. I have a process for getting referrals. I actually call it the loop system, because when I get one gig, I book multiple gigs from it, and it kind of creates a loop. With this whole loop system, I constantly have CEOs and presidents. They constantly book me for multiple events at the same time. That's the power of a process. It's not left to chance. In fact, in the platform members area, it's just $348 for the entire year. And you basically get a ton of different processes that you can use. I'm talking about like step-by-step things you can do to get on stages. Now, knowing your process is the most important part of building a six-figure speaking business. Knowing it is the most important part. And the way you know if you have a process is if you can write it down and someone else can follow it. I can easily tell if a speaker is making six figures or not just by asking them to write down their process. If they just say that it's through word of mouth, then I immediately know they don't have a process. But if they can actually take out a piece of paper and draw out how they go to this website, and then they contact this person, and then they say this on the phone, and then they put this person into a CRM system, and then they contact them 2 weeks later, and then they do this, and then they do that. Well, now that is a process. Your process is your ownership manual to a six-figure speaking business. And like I said, there are several different processes out there. I list several in the platform members area. The process isn't the problem. The problem is whether or not you're going to do it, whether or not you're going to build out your process or just figure out someone else's process or just freaking join platform. And there's tons of them on there. After listening to this, are you going to either check your email, check your Facebook, watch some TV show, or are you going to seriously build your speaking business? Write down your process right now. I mean, write down the exact steps. Now, I can tell that some people listening to this, they still don't get it. I mean, some people listening to this are saying like, man, is he ever going to just give me a freaking technique? Is he ever going to give me the techniques just one by one and all that? Those are the speakers who really don't get it. There is no technique. There is no magic bullet. There is no magic pill that's going to get you to where you're making six figures as a speaker. The thing that's going to get you to a point where you're making six figures is you. The same people who are asking, is he ever going to tell me this magic pill technique? Those are the people who still aren't going to use Google AdWords. I guarantee it. Those are the speakers who are going to stop because it's just too hard. They're going to be like, I don't know this. It's too hard. Those are the speakers who are going to stop. Let me tell you what I did when I started. I tried Google AdWords when I started. I put $500 into it and I thought, okay, well, that's plenty of money. I'll be able to book at least one gig from it. And guess what happened? Well, nothing happened. I actually lost all the money. So then I say, you know what? Google AdWords didn't work. I'm going to try cold calling. And so I thought, okay, if I make enough calls, then one person has to eventually say yes. And guess what? Nothing happened. I wasted all that time and not a single gig. Then I said, okay, how about social media? Now I'll do social media. I know it's working and it's free and I know this has to work. I know people are definitely going to book me if they see all my social media stuff. And guess what? Still, nothing happened. I was pissed off. I mean, I knew that people were using Google AdWords to book gigs. I knew that people were cold calling to book gigs, and I knew people were using social media to get gigs. But no matter what I did, I wasn't booking a single gig, and it pissed me off. I knew that my presentation was great. I knew I had great videos. I knew my stuff was perfect. I mean, it seemed like no matter what I did, I just couldn't get booked. So what did I do? Well, I searched the internet and I typed in how to book speaking gigs. And I saw advice like cold call, use social media, write a book, etc., etc. I saw all kinds of stuff. And most of it I either already tried or it was so generic that it definitely couldn't work. I mean, it was something like, oh, write a best-selling book. And I'm like, well, duh. It was so generic that nothing actually worked. Then I was actually at a friend's house and I had a business card from a guy and this guy, he told me to call him about an event. And this friend, he was actually a magician, and this magician friend, he was really into business. And I asked him like, hey, what should I say to this guy on the phone? So he took the card, he just grabbed the card from me and he just called the guy right there and then. And at the point I was like, whoa, hold up. What are you going to say? He's like, I don't know. And he has to do it on speakerphone. I'm like, oh my goodness, like he's going to ruin the whole thing for me. And so the guy answers, he's like, hey, yeah, this is, my name is so-and-so and I represent Benji Bruce. And yeah, you just recently saw him at this event. And the guy's like, oh yeah, we saw him. He was pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, so what'd you think about him? He's, oh man, it was great. And he's talking and basically the guy was like, yeah, we'd love to have him for this event. And he asked me for like a kid's party or something. And I was like, what the hell? And so my friend, the magician friend, he was like, oh, no. He's like, you don't get it. Benji Bruce is like big time. I mean, this dude, I've seen him have a huge crowd around a single salt shaker. I mean, this guy, you've seen him already. This dude is huge. And so he talked me up something crazy. And long story short, my friend basically booked me a gig right there and then. And at that moment, I realized that the problem wasn't the techniques. It wasn't the cold calling. It wasn't that cold calling didn't work. It wasn't that Google AdWords and social media didn't work. The problem was me. The problem was that I didn't know how to make it work. To build a six-figure speaking business, you have to know how to make things work. When I realized this, I made it work. I actually filled up my schedule in 10 days, making calls and sending emails. 10 days. I mean, that's all. Why didn't it work the first time that I did it? I mean, it's not like the technique changed. I mean, I just cold called and I just sent emails out. I mean, I did that before and then I did it after and it worked after. What changed? It's not the technique that changed. It was me that needed to change. You have to change to build your speaking business. You should be very clear on what your process is. Can you write the steps down to book gigs? I mean, write it down right now. Pause this and write it down. Write down the steps. If you don't have the steps, then here, let me give you let me give you a simple step-by-step thing. Step one, go to eventbrite.com. And that website basically lists tons of events around the world. Once you're on the site, you can search for events that you'd be a good speaker for. So go to that website. If your topic is like leadership, you look for events that would hire leadership speakers. So go to that website, then look at the event and find the name and the email of the person in charge of the event. Maybe it's listed right there on the Eventbrite. Maybe it's not. If it's not, copy and paste the name of their event into Google, and maybe let's say it's called like Leadership 360. So just put that name into Google and their main site is going to pop up. Find the name of the person in charge of that event. Find their email. Now, when it's time for you to send them an email, include the name of their conference in the subject line. So if their conference name is Leadership 360, include that Leadership 360 in the subject line and only include that. Don't include anything else. Don't say like Leadership 360 speaker. Don't do that. Just only include the name of their actual event in the subject line, because when you do that, they're going to realize that number one, it's not spam, and two, it's relevant to them. So they're always going to open that email. Then you're going to send them an email, and of course you're going to type in stuff, blah, blah, blah. But bam, I mean, it's that simple. Now, of course, there are more details to it, like what to say to them, things like that. But that's a quick process for getting booked as a speaker. And there are tons of different processes, but that's what I mean by details. I mean, I told you what website to go to. I told you how to find the email. I told you what to put in the subject line of the email. That's a process. That's something that anyone can follow. If you don't know your process, then you won't get booked as a speaker. And here's a second thing to building a six-figure speaking business. Number one, your process. The second thing, if you want to charge $10,000 for a speaking gig, you have to look like a $10,000 speaker. I'll say that again because you really need to understand this. If you want to charge $10,000 for a speaking gig, you have to look like a $10,000 speaker. You have to master the art of self-promotion. You have to master the ability to influence people to pay you $10,000 or however much to speak on a stage for 60 minutes. But how do you do that? How do you actually get someone to pay that much or more? Now, one of my favorite clients was actually a big company out in Finland, and they flew me out to Finland and they paid over $10,000 to have me on stage for 15 minutes. In total, they actually spent a little over $18,000 to have me out there because a plane ticket alone was $5,000. They paid for the hotel, all the stuff, and they were really one of the coolest clients that I've ever had. But why do you think a company would spend almost $20,000 to bring a guy in and have him present on stage for 15 minutes? Now, I'm not a celebrity. I mean, they didn't even know who I was until obviously they started planning their event. On top of that, when I actually arrived, I asked him how he heard about me, and he told me that he was like, well, we knew that we had to hire you real quick or you wouldn't be available. So once he told me how he heard about me, then he followed up and said, yeah, we just knew we had to hire you real quick because we didn't want you to get snatched up by someone else. Now, I didn't, basically, I didn't say like, hey, hire me quick or someone else is going to book me. I didn't have to say that to him. He just knew it by looking at all my marketing materials. So what created that impression inside their mind? What caused them to get to that point, to the point where they were willing to spend that kind of money to have me on stage and to hire me fast? What caused them is the same with Remax. I mean, why would Remax hire me for their big event with all their executives, the CEO, the vice president, all the higher ups? I mean, no agents, just all the high level execs. Why would they bring me in? If you know how to answer that question, then you know how to get booked. It's all about your ability to promote yourself. It's about your ability to create a high value image and to create an instant influence effect on people to get them to hire you. So first, let's actually talk about creating a high value image. So let's say you're going to hire a speaker. So you're going to hire a speaker. You have a budget of $15,000 to hire a speaker. How are you going to choose between the different speakers? Now, you can't say that you're going to pick the speaker that has the best message because you can't actually hear their message until after you've already hired them. So that's already out of the picture. The best you can do is actually watch their videos, and that's the key. That's actually how you're going to choose a speaker. But let's say that you see a speaker who has video footage of him on stage for big companies, big Fortune 500 companies, corporate crowds, 300 people or more. The reactions are great, tons of reviews. And then you see another speaker who has, he speaks on the same topic. I mean, they're both, let's say, motivational speakers. But this second speaker, he has only one video, and the video looks like he's maybe in a classroom. You don't see a big audience. You don't see video testimonials, none of that stuff. Which one of the speakers do you think you're going to give the $15,000 to? You're obviously going to give it to the speaker that looks like he's already charging $15,000. You're going to give it to the speaker that has all the video footage, the reviews, and the testimony, all that stuff. Your ability to promote yourself is in direct relationship with your ability to build a six-figure speaking business. You have to know how marketing works. You have to know how to create an instant influence effect on people when they see your marketing materials. And what I mean by instant influence effect is that you shouldn't have to sell people on why they should hire you. I mean, they should already be convinced. I mean, by the time they contact you, they should already be convinced. They shouldn't be saying, we have a choice between you and 3 other speakers. What they really should be saying is, hey, are you even available to do our event? That's what they should really be saying. There's a huge difference in psychology and your ability to create certain promotional materials is the very thing that will allow you to get them to enter into that psychology. So there are so many ways to do this, but I really do want to talk about one in particular, and that's video testimonials. Video testimonials are the easiest thing that you can get as a speaker, and it's one of the most powerful ways to promote yourself. I mean, think about what you do when you buy a book on Amazon. I mean, you're making a choice between books on Amazon. You can't read the entire book first and then decide to buy it. I mean, you have to make the decision to buy, and then you can actually read it. So how do you go about making that decision? You basically look at all the reviews. I mean, maybe a friend recommended it, and that's essentially the same thing, even better. But if a book has 1,000 reviews and it has 4.5 out of 5 stars, then you're more likely to buy it. But if a book has 3 reviews and it has a 2-star rating, then you're guaranteed not to buy it. And the same happens when people want to hire you as a speaker. If you have tons of video testimonials on your website, and I'm talking about like tons of testimonials, like so many that they literally can't sit through and watch all of them. If you have tons of video testimonials, then people are going to start to think like, man, I bet this speaker is really good if this many people are talking about him. Now, there are obviously different kinds of testimonials, which I talk about in the platform members area, and some are obviously more powerful than others, but you need to have video testimonials. They're easy to get, and it makes it a lot easier to build a 6-figure speaking business. Now, I kind of want to pause real quick because some people listening to this, they don't realize how powerful that is. I mean, they don't realize how powerful a video testimonial can be. One of the first gigs that I got for $10,000, I actually asked a lady, I said like, hey, how did you hear about me? I always ask a question. And she basically said, she told me, and then she said, well, we were specifically looking at other speakers' videos, and we just saw someone talking about you. We just saw like a review. So we started watching more of those videos, and there were so many people talking about you and raving about you that we just knew you'd be perfect for our event. She literally said that they hired me just because of my video testimonials. It's more important that I mean, it's really important that you get this. I mean, don't just blow by this and just say, oh, yeah, I heard about that before. I heard about video testimonials. You know the difference. Well, think about the difference between the speakers who are making money and the ones who aren't. The difference is instant implementation. I mean, like in the Speak Pro Academy, there's a Speak Pro Academy program. There's this guy named Corey, and Corey, he's a chiropractic, really cool guy. And in one of the weeks, I actually show you how to build a website that's going to get you booked. Well, what most people do is they get to this point and they take forever to build their website. I mean, if they actually ever do it. Most speakers, they gloss over this step because they see the hard work, and I can just see it in them. I mean, they're thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, the other weeks were easy. Oh, now I have to do this hard stuff. Now I got to do the website. Oh my goodness. So they just don't do anything with their website. But here's what happened. So Corey, he sends an email and he says like, hey, here's my website. And I take a quick look at it and I realize like, hey, he needs to change a lot of stuff. So I make a screen capture video and I show him what to do, what to change. I show him all this stuff. Now at this point, most people, they're like, oh my goodness, I need to do all that. And once again, they really don't do anything. But a couple days later, I mean like literally about 2 days later, if that, Corey sends an email and he says, okay, here's the website. Here's a new website. And bam, he changed everything. And I thought to myself like, damn, that was pretty quick. But I remember something. I mean, Corey already is a multimillionaire. Corey didn't get to where he is by sitting around and just listening to advice and then doing nothing about it. People who are serious about running a business and building a speaking business, they implement things really fast. The speed at which you implement tells me everything I need to know about your finances. I also told Corey, I mean, like I told Corey to buy a template for his site because the original site didn't look that great. Yeah, I mean, the template was something like $50. Now, most people would think like, oh man, I just spent $2,000 on this whole Speak Pro Academy. Now I got to spend another $50 to buy a freaking template. But that's the difference. That's where the difference comes into play between the speakers who make money and the speakers who don't. Speakers who make money, they don't say, oh, it's costing me this much. They say, oh, it's going to make me this much. So don't focus on how much something is costing you. Focus on how much it's going to make you. Now, I understand that some people, they really can't afford something like a $2,000 program, and that's why I actually created the platform membership area. It's only $348 for the entire year. I mean, yes, $348 per year. Now, if you can't afford $348 for a year, then you don't need to be a speaker. You need to get a job. If you can't pay $348 to further your education in something that you're really serious about, that you say you're serious about, then you're either not serious about it or you seriously need to get a job. But, I mean, you might say like, oh, but I want to just book speaking gigs and I don't want to buy stuff. I just want to get gigs. I don't want to buy stuff. And that's what most people say. Most people are so focused on not buying something that they don't see what they can get out of it. They're so focused on spending money that they don't see how much money it's going to make them. They don't see how much they're going to get. How crazy would it be if a company like Apple said, oh, I don't want to spend any money on marketing. I just want to be one of the top 5 companies in the world. But I don't want to spend any money, though. I just want to be at the top. Do you see how ridiculous that is? If you can't get over the hump of investing $348 into a program, then how do you think you're going to get over the hump when you need to spend $3,000 on advertising? I mean, how do you think you're going to get over the hump when you need to actually hire someone? You need to spend a whole lot more money. You don't think, I mean, someone's going to work for you for free. I mean, no one's going to work for you for free or on commission. And all that. A lot of speakers are like, oh, if you book me gigs, I'll give you a commission. That's not how it works. So I hope you're not thinking that way. Look, you're where you're at because of the way you think. If you want to get to a new level, you have to radically change who you are. This one guy, I remember the one guy, he actually sent me an email and he literally said, hey, can you tell me how to book gigs? I don't want to buy any of your books or any of your courses. I just want you to tell me how to get gigs. And for a second, I did like a double take. I was like, what the heck? I couldn't help but laugh at the email. Now, you might be saying to yourself how ridiculous that is. Like, why would someone send an email like, hey, can you tell me everything and I don't want to give you any money? I mean, a lot of speakers would think like, wow, why would anyone send an email like that? But most speakers, they do the exact same thing. They just don't realize it. Most speakers, they won't even buy a simple $7 ebook. They just expect everyone to reveal everything in free videos. They're so stuck on the idea that they don't want to buy anything that they don't realize how much they're going to get. So I sent an email back to this speaker, actually. I said, it was just funny to me, the email that he sent. So I sent an email back to the speaker because he couldn't get over the hump of investing to grow his business. So I basically said, sure, I'll tell you exactly how to get gigs. I said, spend $100,000 in Google AdWords, and I'm sure someone eventually is going to book you. So, I mean, obviously I was just messing with them, but that would work. I mean, I'm sure if you spend $100,000 in Google AdWords, someone would book you. And basically, he gave me a ridiculous question, so I gave him a ridiculous answer. You see, this speaker, he didn't get it. This speaker was too caught up in spending versus making. I did some research on other speakers' AdWords campaigns, and my research shows that John Maxwell, I mean, you've probably seen his books. He has like, if you go like Barnes & Noble's, half of Barnes & Noble's is like John Maxwell's books. He spends around $30,000 or more per month on Google Ads. Some people might be saying like, damn, that's a lot of money. But I bet you John Maxwell, he's saying like, hey, how much did we make? Oh, we made a few million? Okay, yeah, that's good. I bet that's what he's saying. He's not saying like, damn, we're spending $30,000. He's like, hey, how much did we make? Oh, we made $1 million. All right, yeah, that's cool. So do you see the difference? I really, really need you to see the difference. It's not what you spend, it's what you make. And I'm trying to mix the psychology of building a six-figure speaking business with the tactics, because it's the psychology that's the important part. I already told you simple tactics, and I can go into detail about the tactics. I told you the process for cold calling, about using Eventbrite, stuff like that. I told you Google AdWords. Some speakers, they might think that it's so simple that they won't even do it. I mean, I told you how to use Google AdWords, and of course, there's more to it than just saying use Google AdWords, but that's the tactic. The tactics are easy. You have to get the psychology down. The psychology is what allows the tactics to work. There are essentially two parts to getting booked. The first part is doing the work that actually gets you on stages. I mean, the work that actually puts you on a stage. Things like cold calling, knowing what to say, where to find events, AdWords, Facebook, all the tactics. The second part is your marketing materials, things like your website, videos, everything that builds your image. If you want to build a six-figure speaking business, then you have to know how to do both, and you can't confuse the two. Some people think that cold calling is too simple, so they just don't do it. Or maybe they do it, but it's just not working. And the reason it doesn't work is because they don't have the second part. They don't have the right marketing materials, like the good website, the good videos, and all of that other stuff. A lot of times when a speaker asks me like a marketing question, I'll actually take a look at their website and I'll ask them if they think they need a better website. Almost always they need a better website, and I know this, but I'm just wondering if they actually know this. It lets me know how self-aware they are. Now, to my surprise, I used to think that a lot of speakers knew that they need better marketing materials to get hired. If you ask a speaker like, hey, do you think that your marketing materials are important for you to get hired? Then they're going to say yes. So they know that they need important marketing materials. They know they need great marketing materials. So what surprised me is that almost every speaker whose website that I take a look at, it's not nearly as good as they think it is. And what surprised me even more is that most speakers don't think they need better marketing materials, or they don't think they need a better website. If you want to promote yourself as a speaker, you have to look like you're already getting booked for speaking gigs. Nobody wants to hire a newbie. I mean, there isn't a single corporate client in the world who would pay $10,000 for a brand new speaker. They want a speaker who knows what they're doing, and the way they determine this is by looking at your marketing materials, your website, your videos, all that stuff. That's why I keep telling speakers that if you want to charge $10,000, then you have to look like a $10,000 speaker. Now, you might not have video footage of you speaking on big stages or anything like that, but that's where the video testimonials come in. Everyone can get video testimonials, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been in the game for a while. You can get them even if you haven't spoken on a single stage. It's just a matter of how creative you are. And there was actually one speaker I actually helped where she was literally starting from nothing. And I mean nothing. She had no website, no videos, no nothing. She used to have a corporate marketing job, and she just all of a sudden decided she wanted to be a speaker on marketing. So she knew that she needed a website, she needed videos, and all that stuff to get speaking gigs. But how could she get it if she didn't have a single speaking gig in the first place? That's actually what I call the speaker dilemma. And that's where I came in. I showed her how to get all this stuff. So first, we started with just the testimonial videos because those are the easiest things to get, and we got plenty of them for our website. Then we built her website to look as good as it possibly could be for her starting out. Now I told her how to approach event planners, and she started getting on stages. Once she was on stage, we were easily able to use that footage to grow her image and to get her charging more. Your marketing materials, it needs to create a certain psychology inside the minds of clients and to where they've already made a decision to hire you. I mean, before they contact you, they should already have made that decision. Several speakers, they've asked me things like, how do I persuade clients to hire me over the phone? What kind of sales tactics do I use? And I just tell them the truth. I say, like, I don't use any, really. In fact, I rarely talk to a client on the phone before they've actually booked me. It's usually just through email contact. And I don't need to sell people on hiring me in a conversation, because by the time the client contacts me, they've already made the decision to hire me. Now it's just a matter of details like availability, their budget, things like that. If you have people contacting you saying that they're making a decision between you and a few other speakers and you need to persuade them to hire you, then you need better marketing materials. You need marketing materials that put people into a state of mind where they're more focused on, they're like, oh man, instead of saying like, is this the speaker that we should have for our event? They're saying like, oh man, is he even available for our event? I mean, I hope you see the difference. And something like video testimonials, they can put people into that state of mind. When clients see that you have so many people raving about you, they can't help but assume that you're great. And I mean, they just can't help it. Now, here's where things get really hard. What I'm about to tell you next is what separates the speakers who build a 7-figure speaking business from the speakers who don't. It's possible for every speaker listening to this to build at least a 6-figure speaking business if you do what it is I'm about to tell you. It's possible for every speaker listening to this to build one. But what do you think separates speakers, the ones who build the business, from those who don't? Think about it. What do you think really separates the serious ones from the ones who just talk about it? There are speakers out there who have been stuck for years. They've been saying they're a speaker for years, but they don't actually get gigs. They don't really book stages. They're in the same spot today as they were a year ago or 6 months ago. They're just not getting paid gigs. So what separates the two? What separates the ones who don't get it from the ones who do? What causes one speaker to book gigs while the other just sits at home waiting for the phone to ring? Listen very closely. It's your ability to have an instant implementation psychology that's going to separate you from those around you. Your ability to implement fast is what's going to allow you to build a 6-figure speaking business in less than a year. What are you going to do the very second you stop watching this, the very second you stop listening to this? Are you going to take some type of action? If there's one thing that I know like 100% no, to look out for when it comes to speakers who are building a six-figure speaking business is to look at how fast they actually do something. If they say they're going to do something, how fast do they get it done? Lots of speakers say that they're going to promise to get video testimonials. They promise to make calls. They promise to do this and that. And then 2 weeks go by, absolutely nothing happens. But the speakers who do it instantly, they always build a speaking business. I can take any speaker listening to this and I can help you make six figures as a speaker. I can give you all the tactics you need. I can tell you everything that you need to do, whether you've been speaking on stages for a while or whether you've never spoken on a single stage in your life. I can show you everything you need, but I can't do it for you. It's like the saying of, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. I can give you all the opportunities. I can put the opportunities right in front of you, everything in front of you, but I can't make you do it. One of the things that I go over in the platform members area is a brilliant way to use Facebook to get gigs. And I mean it's brilliant. I don't mean to brag or anything, but it's freaking brilliant. It's pretty genius. And it's something that very few speakers know about and actually do. In fact, I almost didn't even reveal it because I didn't want everyone actually doing it. And before I posted it in the platform members area, I remember telling 3 other entertainers and speakers about it. And I said like, hey, here's all the details. I gave them all the details, everything they needed. 2 of those speakers actually said like, man, that's some good stuff. Oh, I'm going to do that. Man, that's great. I'm going to do that. Well, the 3rd speaker, as I was talking to him, as I was telling him this stuff, he didn't say anything. He got out his laptop, he opened his laptop, signed into Facebook, and he said, so you mean like you do it like this, and should I put this here, and what about this, what do I do with this? And basically this 3rd speaker, he was actually doing it right there and then as I was telling him how to do it. He didn't talk about how amazing the method was. He didn't say that he was going to try it out. He just took out his laptop right there, that very second, and started doing it. I guarantee you that speaker is making at least 6 or 7 figures in the speaking industry. There are lots of people who talk the talk and don't walk the walk. In the platform members area, I give several techniques to get gigs, and I combine it with the psychology of what you need to have to make it all work. But I know that there are speakers like the first 2 who say, oh man, that's great, that's some cool stuff, and then they do absolutely nothing about it. And I know that there's a few speakers who are dead serious. They don't say much. They don't need to say much. They just get stuff done. I want you to be the speaker who just gets stuff done, the speaker who takes action. I want you to be the speaker who doesn't say, how much do I have to pay? And instead he says, how much am I going to make? In the platform members area, the platform members area is $348 for the entire year. Only $348 per year. That's it. There's all kinds of information in the members area that shows you what to do. It gives you the process for getting gigs and becoming a more business savvy speaker. If you want specialized information about the speaking industry, you need to join Platform. There might be a link somewhere on this page. If not, go to platform.speakinglifestyle.com/join and sign up. Now, there's a couple things that actually just happened. A couple things that just happened right now as I told you to sign up. You either said, okay, I'm going to sign up right now, or you said, psh, this dude's just trying to sell me stuff. He's just trying to get me to join his freaking platform program, and I'm not signing up. If you're signing up, good for you. You're definitely going to build your speaking business a lot faster than almost every other speaker you know. If you made the decision not to buy, if you're like, man, this dude's just trying to sell me stuff, you still don't get it. You don't see what $348 can do for your entire speaking career. You're so focused on $348 that you don't see what you can make. You don't see how this knowledge is going to transform your speaking business and your life. It's $348. Well, if $348 a year is too expensive for you, then you definitely don't need to be speaking. You need to get a job. If you want to grow your speaking business, then you need specialized knowledge. And more importantly, you need to have the psychology of the person the psychology of a person who knows how to use that knowledge. You need to know how to get things done and get them done fast. When you join Platform, you get full access to all the videos that show you what I'm currently doing in my speaking business. New videos and downloads are being uploaded every single month, so you stay on top of your game as a speaker. So right now, there are tons of videos that show you how to find event planners, how to approach them, different methods for getting booked, case studies on my own gigs, tons of advice on presentation skills, publicity. I mean, there's all that stuff, and it's only going to keep growing. If you've been looking for some serious advice, I mean, I'm talking about like no fluff type of stuff, no theory, none of that nonsense, just stuff that works, then this is it. This is your time to make that decision. It's only $348 a year, and it will change your speaking business forever, no matter what level you're at as a speaker. So sign up right now. I guarantee you that you will get more detailed information about the speaking business in the Platform members area than you ever could in any free video and all that other free stuff. If you know it's time to grow your speaking business, then this is it. Sign up for the Platform program at platform.speakinglifestyle.com/join. Do that now.